This question comes from Leo, who asks a question that chills the spine of every biologist. What does true loss of control look like? For most creatures, death is an ending, a cessation of movement, a final breath, a return to the soil. It's a tragedy, but it's a clean one. The story has a conclusion. But in the humid, shadow-drenched undergrowth of the tropical rainforest, where the air itself feels like a living, breathing entity, there exists a fate far more sophisticated and infinitely more cruel than simple death. It is not an end, but a perversion, a biological hostile takeover executed with the cold, algorithmic precision of a master programmer. This is the realm of Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, the fungus that doesn't just kill its host, but wears it like a rented suit, pilots it like a drone, and then uses its empty carcass as a launch platform for its children. We call it the puppet master, and it is nature's most eloquent argument that free will is a fragile illusion. The story begins not with a scream, but with a silent, indifferent drift. A single microscopic spore, lighter than a thought, detaches from a fungal fruiting body high above. It floats on imperceptible air currents through the cathedral-like gloom of the rainforest canopy. To any creature, it is nothing, a speck of dust, a flake of organic ash. Its target is a carpenter ant, a dedicated worker moving with purpose along a scent trail highway on the forest floor. The spore lands on the ant's chitinous exoskeleton, a fortress of biological armor. The ant feels nothing. It continues its march. But the spore is alive, and it is patient. It is a lockpick made of enzymes. Upon contact, it secretes a specialized corrosive cocktail that quietly dissolves a microscopic hole through the ant's armor. This isn't a violent invasion, it's a covert entry. A single fungal filament, a hypha, threads itself through this breach into the soft, nutrient-rich interior, the ant's hemochele, its open circulatory system. This is the moment of infection, the silent, undetected breach of the fortress. The ant is now a kingdom under siege, and it doesn't even know the war has begun. What happens next is where textbook biology shifts into body horror. We assume parasites attack the brain, the throne room of consciousness. The puppet master finds this crude. It doesn't need to storm the throne. It simply rewires the palace. As the fungal network, the mycelium, grows and multiplies inside the ant, it behaves less like an infection and more like a second, parasitic nervous system. The filaments do not mass in the brain. Instead, with terrifying purpose, they weave a complex web-like network around and between the ant's muscle fibers. They infiltrate the legs, the thorax, the mandibles. The fungus begins to communicate with the ant using a chemical language of its own design, secreting compounds that mimic or interfere with the ant's own neuromuscular signals. Think of it this way. The ant's brain is still sending signals. Walk home, pick up that food, groom your sister. But the fungal network intercepts these commands. It severs the lines from the brain to the muscles and inserts its own controller. The ant is still there, conscious perhaps, aware in a dim, trapped way, but its limbs are no longer its own. The fungus has cut the brake lines, hijacked the steering wheel, and installed its own GPS. The pilot is locked in the cockpit, watching helplessly as the plane is flown towards a destination of the co-pilot's choosing. Under the puppet master's absolute command, the ant is an automaton. It is compelled to perform a zombie death march. It staggers away from its colony, abandoning its safety, its social bonds, and its instinctual purpose. Driven by a chemical compulsion it cannot resist, it climbs. It must find a very specific location, not just any leaf, but one at a precise height, approximately 25 centimeters above the forest floor, on the north side of the plant, where humidity and temperature create the perfect incubator for the fungus. This is the sniper's perch. The precision is chilling. The fungus, through its hijacked ant vehicle, is executing an ecological calculation millions of years in the making. Too low, and the spores won't disperse well. Too high, and the microclimate is wrong. The ant clambers to this exact spot, its movements now jerky and unnatural, a marionette with invisible strings. Upon reaching the predestined leaf, the fungus issues its final, irreversible command, the death grip. The ant, with its fungus-controlled mandibles, bites down onto the central vein or the leaf's edge with such immense titanic force that its jaw muscles contract permanently, locking it in place. The trap is set. The host's utility as a vehicle is over. Now it becomes a nutrient source and a platform. With the ant immobilized, the fungus completes its consumption. It digests the non-essential internal organs, but in a final, grotesque act of biological pragmatism, it often spares the brain until the very end. Why? Because a living brain may help maintain the muscular tension of the death grip. Only when the fungal stalk is ready to erupt does it consume the last vestige of the original occupant. Then the grand, horrifying finale. From the junction between the ant's head and thorax, a dark, stalk-like structure called a stroma forces its way out, piercing the exoskeleton. It grows upward, sometimes taller than the ant itself, ripening into a bulbous, club-shaped fruiting body. Inside, millions of new spores develop. From this elevated, perfect vantage point, the stalk eventually erupts, releasing a silent, invisible rain of spores onto the ant trails and foraging grounds below. The cycle is complete. The puppet master has used its host to build and position its own artillery, firing a new generation of invaders at the victim's family. Dr. Keeler leans over his desk, the only sound the rhythmic scratch of graphite on thick paper. He is sketching the ant in its final pose, a grotesque monument with a fungal stalk rising from it like a perverse crown. With meticulous care, he draws faint, ghostly strings from the stalk down to the ant's limbs, making the metaphor viscerally clear. The horror of the puppet master, he whispers to the empty room, his voice a dry rustle, isn't in the killing. Death is banal. The horror is in the preservation of the shell alongside the absolute erasure of the will. It doesn't create a corpse, it creates a puppet. It transforms a living, decision-making individual into a biological billboard, a rented apartment, and a launch pad. It is the ultimate heist, the theft of agency itself. He pauses, adding fine details to the fungal stalk. Then his hand moves to the margin of the sketch. He draws a small, simplified human silhouette in the background. Above it, he sketches a single, giant, looming spore dwarfing the figure. We console ourselves with the myth of free will, Keeler murmurs, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial rasp. We believe our thoughts are our own, our choices sovereign, but we are all, in the end, chemical machines, sophisticated, yes, beautiful even, but machines nonetheless. We run on neurotransmitters, hormones, electrical impulses. The puppet master has simply spent millions of years practicing how to insert its own code into a running system. It doesn't need to be intelligent. It doesn't need to think. It just needs the right key for the lock. And evolution is a locksmith that never stops working. He signs the sketch with a sharp, angular flourish, the graphite smudging under his thumb. Diagnosis, he says, more to himself than anyone. The universe is not malicious, it is indifferent. It doesn't care about your autobiography, your loves, your fears. It only cares about persistence, about the elegant, ruthless mathematics of the next generation. Energy is harvested, vehicles are repurposed, code is rewritten. We are all just temporary vessels. The puppet master merely makes the strings visible. He sets his pencil down. The final image, now complete in the mind's eye, is an aerial view of the rainforest floor. Not of one ant, but of 1,000, a thriving colony, a bustling city of purpose. And among them, unseen, drift the microscopic spores, each ant a potential stage, each spore a potential director, all moving in a vast, silent, and beautifully orchestrated dance, where the distinction between dancer and puppet is terrifyingly, elegantly thin.